here with the aid, and I'm going to go over here and we're going to practice shooting. And we have portable basketball hoops, so they're lower than the other ones. But even if you're in kindergarten, we'd have 3 different sizes of hoops. So you decide which hoop you're going to go to. So maybe you're already shooting baskets from the main hoop. You can do that, but there's this other child that's never even picked up a basketball. They can use the sidewall or the corner with the portable hoop.
Hello, and welcome to Voices in the Field, a Mayford podcast where we talk with educators in the field to hear about their perspectives and experiences. My name is Jake Burson, Advocacy Chair for Mayford, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Wendi Daniels. Welcome to the show, Wendy.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Great to have you. Here's a little bio about Wendy. Wendi Daniels has been in education for 22 years, with 11 of those in elementary physical education. She has a bachelor's degree in kinesiology from the University of Houston. She also has an extensive background in sports. In her youth, she was in select gymnastics, ran track, played basketball, co-ed soccer, and water polo. In addition to teaching science and PE, she taught the Gifted and Talented program and led the Oceanography Club for middle schoolers, and she is a Special Olympics basketball coach. Wendy has written detailed lesson plans for science curriculum as well as elementary physical education. She has a strong passion for getting kids moving and helping teachers navigate the Texas state requirements with ease. She works to make the gym a fun place for kids to make their bodies strong. So today our focus is going to be on the book that she authored called Revolutionary PE. So once again, welcome to have you, Wendy. Let's get started.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. Wendy, what inspired you to write the book?
So our standards for the state of Texas were changing, and I was going to retire in 4 years, but I'm a rule follower, so I thought I have to start working on these new lesson plans. And my aide at the time was going to school to be a certified PE teacher. So I was thinking of it from a perspective that if I was a brand new teacher, since I'm leaving, what could I do to make her job easier? And so, what would she need to know coming into being a brand new teacher? So, I wrote the book Lesson Plans for Elementary PE. Second edition is what's available because now it has all of the health teaks as well. But my business is revolutionarype.com. It is the website where people can go and get things even without buying the book and get to all the links of all my videos. So that was really my purpose.
Very cool. And the title is unique, Revolutionary PE. What was the thought behind the title?
So really, I'm into the fact that we are not just conditioning kids to come to physical education, but we're trying to make a lifetime available to them for fitness, to love exercise, to love being in the gym, and to find out what you're going to do and what's going to be different today and try to keep it exciting. So my girlfriend was helping me come up with a business game name. And so the business name is Revolutionary PE. And it's kind of fun because some of my students even told me they bought my books so they would have a copy of all the games that we play because we play so many. And they play them on their street with their friends.
That's really cool. And I actually stumbled across your book through your YouTube website, and you have a few videos up there, some great content. And I really thought it was unique that you have demonstrations and the actual students playing the games, which makes it easy for someone trying to understand how the game works. So that's really unique. So our next question, many teachers spend a lot of time trying to look for different ideas and for content or just different ways to teach something. But your book is unique in that you have these digital components and it's very comprehensive. Can you tell a little bit about your book?
Sure. So what I did is I organized it in the order that I run my gym. So, like with student expectations and letting the kids set those expectations and warm ups. And then we go into cooperative games because then they learn a few games and how to follow rules and what we do when we have differences and talking about it. And I really love in Texas, I'm sure he's national, is the PE specialist.
Oh yeah.
He, yeah, he's awesome. He introduced me to the conflict corner. So, I refer just to his website if you're interested in finding out more about that. But we discussed how to deal with things. Sometimes students, especially with special needs, need a special corner just to go and to cool down. And I make sure all students know that if you're having problems, you can go there and take a minute and you could just let me know I need a minute. And but we can't just run out of the gym, where you have to be careful about that. So I divided my book into units. So we would follow the season of the sport with
Hmm.
lead up games for that sport. And then I also broke it down into what would a lesson in basketball be for like kinder and first versus second and third versus fourth and fifth. And then I looked at the standard. You have the standard, the equipment you would need to teach that unit. And then I bolded the state requirements for kinder and first in Texas. But because it's divided by sport, anyone could pick up the book and say, hey, we're doing a basketball unit. What's something new? And then there's a glossary of games at the back, but they could also specifically look at how would you teach throwing. So then you look at the teacher's notes for a kindergartner, and it's much different teaching a kindergartner how to do a bounce pass versus our older kids. So we have different skills and activities for them, different size equipment.
Right. Yeah, that was going to be my next question is what is some of the differentiation between the younger ones and the older ones? But you answered that with the different size equipment or modifications or the size of the space is different, right?
Right, right. And you want to keep them moving, but at the same time, you might narrow for the younger ones. Like you're going to be practicing this over here with the aid, and I'm going to go over here and we're going to practice shooting. And we have portable basketball hoops, so they're lower than the other ones. But even if you're in kindergarten, we'd have three different sizes of hoops. So you decide which hoop you're going to go to. So maybe you're already shooting baskets from at the main hoop. Oh, you can do that, but there's this other child over here that's never even picked up a basketball. They can use the sidewall or the corner with the portable hoop. And so our school had been around for 25 years, so I was
Mhm.
very fortunate in having a lot of different equipment available.
Yeah,
And then
that's key, right? To have those options too.
yes. And then also having a supportive PTO, because when our state standards changed, I had to go to them and say, hey, I really need this year's fundraiser to go to the PE department because we don't have the equipment for some of the new things they're asking me to teach. And they said, all right, you get it all. And that was amazing.
That is amazing. Wow,
Yeah.
that's really cool. And good for you for advocating and reaching out to them to do that. Because we all know how expensive stuff can be, right?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
So, Wendy, writing a book is a big undertaking. What are some of the most rewarding parts of this process for you?
I think it was doing some workshops and actually going in and teaching some of the teachers how to use the book and
Mm,
demonstrating some of the games and how appreciative they were for the fact I was thinking it was going to be for a new teacher. And there is a lady in the class. She goes, nope, these are for older teachers too. She said, we all need new ideas and be able to have some of the work already done for us because we spend so much time of our own time
mm.
and family time writing lesson plans. It's nice to have a set done where I could just say, I'm just going to do this unit and run with it. And
And
so,
have everything you need there, right? You have
right.
the YouTube links. Can you talk a little bit about the digital component through the book, or is it's embedded in it, or is it separate? How does one get to these other resources?
So anyone could go to the web page and or the YouTube channel
Okay.
and they could access those games and ideas. But to be able to have the lesson plan in front of you, and the book is also an ebook. So if you go to the publisher, which is Sienna Publishing, and go under their education. On the second page is my book in an ebook form. And if you put in save 20, the book only costs $66 and every link is clickable. So you would be able to click, if you're in that unit, straight to my video to see how I did the warm up, watching the kids do that warm up or play that game, or if it's a health lesson and you're going to show a video clip of what I used, then you could click on the video and get to the right video, because we know sometimes you might type in a topic and you come up with 6 different videos and you don't know
Right.
which it is. And then I have already had discussion questions from watching that video ready for you to talk to your kids about to learn that topic. So and you have the answers because I watched it for you. It was so much work. I was like, oh my gosh, this would be a waste if I didn't just share it with them. And I had to really argue with the publisher. The first time when I published it, the first edition, it was self-published, so I had to pay for it to be
Oh, wow.
published. The second time, a publisher said he wanted to publish it, and then he just splits the revenues with me.
Hmm.
So, but the thing is that it's just, I had to bring down the price because I told him teachers are going to be paying for this out of their own pocket.
Right.
It occasionally a district will say, yes, I'll reimburse you for that, but it's not always the case. So,
Right. It's not that common. I
no.
mean, it's definitely worth the money. I don't have the book, but I've seen the resources, and from talking to you, I mean, everything's there. I love the fact that you can click the ebook and click on a link and it brings you right to what you need. And I think a lot of folks could benefit from that. So that's awesome.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about the classroom. What are some of your favorite modifications that you've utilized with students to ensure that everyone was included?
So I think maybe my favorite thing is the magic ball. And if you're playing a ball, one of the cooperative games, and you could give them one of the soft, like gator balls, and in their own color, you're not using that color for anything else in the game. So if they're in a wheelchair or if they just have some kind of disability, either our special ed students or they have that ball and no one else can have that ball.
Hmm.
But if they throw it and it's on the ground and it's near you, depending on the rules of what the game is, you could pick up that ball and you're safe while you have it. And you can only keep it for 5 seconds and you have to return it to its owner. And then they have to wait 5 seconds before they can get you out. So it's kind of fun because the kids that are in a wheelchair, they come to PE and they're so sad. And what do? Give them a health sheet to color or a book to read, or they love being able to keep score or to be in the game where it's the magic ball where they're still sitting on the sidelines and they're safe, but they can get someone out or they can throw. Or so I think that's kind of fun because I know even my students that would come in with an aid, sometimes we have fantastic aides that are there and helping, but they're not going to want to pick up a ball and retrieve it for them. So
Right. That's a good example. And it makes that student, whoever it might be, included with the other students.
yes,
So,
yeah,
no, I hear you. I know in my class I have a few students in chairs that have limited use of their hands and feet, and so with the assistant or the paraprofessional or aide, and they come in and they're great, but just having them included somehow is so important. So
yeah.
that's
You can also
awesome.
get the wrist straps or ankle straps where the
Hmm.
ball, you put it in the little pouch like for soccer trainers.
All
And
right, yeah,
yeah, I've done that too, where it comes right back to them, but it also does limit how far they can throw it. It just
right,
depends on the skill level of the student. So,
right. I mean but that's probably their skill level, right? They're not going to throw probably over. 6 or 7 feet, it's good because it goes a certain distance that it comes back to you. A lot more repetition of quality throwing, right?
Exactly.
So, Wendy, grading is discussed in your book, right? Or assessment. Do you have any
Yeah.
suggestions for assessment in general, or how does it look like in your book?
So, first of all, I don't think that assessment is just because we have to give them a grade. And you really do want to reward them with the grade that they've earned.
Hmm.
And when I had 85 students in my gym at a time, it's really hard. Not everyone is athletic. And I
Right.
really wanted to stress the fact that in this gym, you're rewarded for participation, not on your skill. So I don't have to be good at something. I would like you to try to improve and but be better at it. But the only way you're going to get better is through participation. And what I really want you to do is just try to have fun.
Hmm.
So if you're doing that, then you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and following the rules. So we had two ways of scoring. So kinder through second grade received a 1 through a 4.
Hmm.
So in the first semester, all students started at a 2. In the second semester, all students started at a 3. And you had to either earn your way up or you were marked down based off of participation. And then for our older students that were in third through fifth, they received either a U, an S minus, an S, S plus, or an E. Well, you have to work really hard to get an E, but everybody starts at an S plus. So if I have to write up, and I try to do little certificates that are positive reinforcement, like
Hmm.
I saw you being a good sport, or you stayed after and you helped me pick up equipment,
Hmm.
all the kind things that our students do every day.
Right.
But we also have that student that is always trying to not participate or is causing some problems. Then I would have a little slip that would go home that would be a warning, and communicating to the parent that either they're not wearing tennis shoes or they're not participating in their warm-ups or their exercises, or during the game after me trying to redirect them, they just don't play. They stand at the back of the gym and I need them to participate. So at least I'm communicating with the parent. And then when they do warm-ups, I make a warm up video filming my students that were my film crew actually doing the exercises because I like to do the exercises with them at the beginning of class.
Hmm.
But there's times where I need to do grades. So we will put on the video and then they see their peers or older students leading them in their exercises. And while they're doing that, I'm able to look to see if this class can actually do a push up and whether they have good form, especially when we get into in Texas, they do fitness gram testing.
Hmm.
And so you want to correct them and give them hints about their form, but there's times where even if you tell them 100 times, they don't really do that. But when they're seeing their peer do it and they have good form, that's a visual to them that wow, okay, I can do that, or I'm going to try to do as many as they do. And
It's kind of
so
a natural incentive for them to see that.
yeah, and I can record if they could do it or not. And then if that parent says, well, why did my child get marked down? I could go in and say, oh, well, they're really struggling. So I put a star that by their name in the grade book that day, then I know that they did a really good job. Or if I put a minus, I could put a note next to it. Either they weren't doing it or they can't do it.
Right.
And then when that parent calls me, I actually have a reason why, or I sent home 3 notes to you about this behavior, no tennis shoes and not really working out. But I really like it when, if I have to send that note, that I've also sent one of my positive notes saying what a
Right.
good sport they were today.
Right. Yeah,
So,
that's important, I think, to have a positive initial experience with the caregiver or parent. I think that's huge. But you touched on a couple things that are evident to me, but might not be evident to the layperson, and that's how important it is to communicate with folks, both caregivers and administration, and the fact that you have positive reinforcement. And of course, with over 70 students, you said you had up to 85. That's, I mean, a typical class is 25. So just think about that for a second. That many students in a gymnasium, even with a paraprofessional or two, trying to get them moving safely with
Yeah.
standards. There's a lot to it. It's not as easy as people think. So
No,
kudos to you for doing that. But yeah,
thanks.
those are all great ideas and suggestions. So Wendy, moving on, you taught for a long time, even before publishing the book. So was there a specific moment that made you say, I have to write this book? I have to
Um,
take the next step.
well, my husband was having hip replacement surgery, and I was not at the meeting where it was an in-service day. And I was working on the outline of the what would the data table look like for all these new standards and how could it be clear, and then I'll divide them up because there are 6 elementary schools in our district. We could all work on it, and they're at the in-service right now. I'll send it to them and see what happens. So I sent it to them and nothing happened. So then I was like, oh, okay. And I was close to a couple of the girls on the other campuses, and they're like, yeah, if we had time to get together, we could probably work on that. But our district isn't paying for us to do this. And so I started working on it at home in the evenings and on weekends. And my husband was like, wow, you're putting a lot of work and time into this. And I just felt like there's a lot of teachers that are either just going to say, I'm going to wait until we receive something from the state or from the district to
Hmm.
follow these new standards and make changes. But so I started thinking, okay, instead of just the standard, I should divide them into units like baseball, basketball, volleyball, football, lacrosse, golf. They added outdoor games where we have to teach using a compass, like orienteering and bocce ball and we already had tennis, but we added pickleball. So I added all those things to the book, and then I was playing them in my gym for a year and published the first edition, but it didn't have any health in it. It just had the teaks written down and some vague suggestions.
Hmm.
So in the second edition is where I really worked on the health teaks. But it was kind of like, if I'm going through this much work, I need to share this. It's not fair to other teachers, and why wouldn't I? But then when I found out how much it was going to cost just to print it, it was ridiculous. But I wanted to add some color because I have like whatever the sport is in green, and then I have the lessons in yellow, so it separates it. And then
Hmm.
under blue is all the teacher's notes.
Hmm.
And then it's divided into days. And I try to, you have 2 to 3 days in a unit, and sometimes into like it's continued. So it might take us 2 weeks to finish. But because we go through so many different units of sports that are sports related, because we're just elementary, it's just lead up games. I couldn't focus too much time, but it's kind of like, okay, if we don't get to it, then next year, after we do expectations and introduction, we're going to start where we didn't get and start at that part, those units, and then go back to the beginning. And
Right.
so, yeah, so it was kind of more, I just wanted to help other teachers. I didn't really think of it as a business or that I was trying to make money. It was more like we help each other. That's what teachers do. Like we share because we spend our own money. It's like having links to things that are already out there and available that have been tested and notes taken on is really just a suggestion. When I couldn't find what I want, I made it.
Right.
But like on my webpage, all the 4 corners or anything that needs to be printed for stations are there for you to print because it was too expensive to put in the book. but they're on the web page. So you don't have to make anything. If it says you need to make these station signs, no, you don't. You go to my web page and print them.
Right.
So
So
yeah.
you did all the work, you thought about all this ahead of time and knowing what teachers might benefit from and what they could utilize. And this, it's not like you get the book and you have to spend 50 more bucks. Everything's right there on the website. That's awesome. And I
Yeah.
love the fact that you did it from a place of trying to help others. And you're like, right, you're doing the work. Why not help? Other people are in the same boat, right? Especially as PE
Yeah.
teachers and health teachers.
Especially if you're coaching, because you don't have the time after school. And then if you have a
No.
family, it's tough.
Oh, yeah, it is. And if you're involved in committees or whatever it might be, extracurricular activities, then it's even harder. So kudos to you for doing that. And so, how did you decide what to include versus exclude from the book? I know there's a lot of information in the book, but
Yeah. So I just kind of started at the beginning. And when I got to track and field, it's like, wow, how do I even tell anyone how to organize this? Because we
Mm,
have close to 900 students at our school,
wow.
and half of them go to track and field one day and the other half the next day. How do I manage that?
Hmm.
So I did kind of like a checklist. How many months in advance do you need to start? What funds do you have? How can you get your PTO involved? And just drawing your diagram, putting in a work order to have them come out. And I have to paint a lot of my own lines, but I had a guy that could at least come out and paint the field to get me some lines going. But I had to get on his schedule because he's doing everybody's track and field. And,
Right.
so just those kind of things, just what is going, if I've never had a classroom before, what do I need to know, or what would help a teacher, with grading, or because you always hear, okay, teachers struggle with classroom management, so dealing with behavior, class size, and that's another thing. They're like, well, you have games and stuff, but how many kids are in your class? Well, average 85, but I've had 98.
Well,
I can't do a game inside the gym safely with 98 kids. I've got to go outside and have half of them doing one thing and the other half doing the other. So maybe our warm up is outside if we're doing a game that's pretty intense, or maybe it's a lacrosse game outside because it's beautiful weather. But and if it's not good weather, what do I do? So I have, can I get another classroom and do some health? I know teachers that just decide not to teach the health, and I don't have time to do that. But at the same time, those kids are missing out and are getting
mm,
such misinformation from YouTube, or AI isn't always right.
right.
It's still correcting. So I just went through things that I thought as a teacher would help me. And we always are looking for new ideas. That's why we go to state convention, right?
Right.
And it helps to see it. And that's why I did the film crew to film some things. And even though I am not a good actress, or like it was really like, here's how we do it, and get the kids to show the warm up and then show the game and try to make it as concise as possible. But it's really about having a visual aid, because if I can see it, then it's like, oh, that's what she's talking about. Because it's in physical education, it's really easy to demonstrate something, but then to put it into words, I had to have my aide spell check my work and make sure she understood what I was saying, because she already was in the gym, so she knew. Sometimes she would say, correct some things, like reword it. But I think that as teachers, we need to hear and see and read. So it's kind of like having everything just makes a clearer picture. So,
I agree 100%. That's so important, especially for our ELL learners or students from other cultures or countries where they need to
yeah.
hear it and see it and even speak it too and listen. So you get in all those domains. That's fabulous. So, Wendy, just a couple more questions before we close out. The next one is, what's something you would wish caregivers or administrators understood about our content area, PE? I'm sure there's a lot, but what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I would have to say it would really be nice if they understood a little bit more that it is a curriculum, that it is required by the state, and that it doesn't mean that you could just come into the gym and just say, oh, I have to discipline this group of kids for 20 minutes and now your lesson is half of the time is taken away. And
Right.
I think sometimes in physical education, they think of us as the lesser education, or it's an optional, it's like recess when
Mm-hmm.
it's not. And I've been really fortunate that my principals have respected what I did, but we have the biggest spot in the gym with the gym, and they want to borrow it sometimes. And,
Right.
you have to really stand up to that a little bit and negotiate and, schedule. Okay, if you want to do science fair in the gym, I think that's awesome. And I understand completely. And I'm ex science teacher, so I know that that's important, but let's look at the calendar. If it is during fitness testing, is there a spot that I can share and still do some of my testing, and then we go outside for a game? What is the
Right.
weather like outside?
Right.
You know, if it's raining, what's the next plan? Where are you going to put 85 to 95 kids? So
Right.
I think just the for teachers and administration to really respect more of what we do. So I invite them to come into my gym and to
Mm.
watch and be a part of it. And parents as well. I would have parents sign up for volunteering for being extra set of eyes. For instance, when we do gymnastic stations, I do not want them to come in and touch the kids and
Right.
spot, but it sure would be nice to have them standing over at this station where they're they're doing, stretching, or walking on a low balance beam to make sure they're just not being silly and getting hurt.
Mm.
So I could be spotting the forward roll and or the cartwheel, and my aide, they're watching another station. And so I think when parents see what we do and how many kids, they really respect you and tell other parents, like, wow, it's great that they're doing that. I taught students, we had a field trip in the gym where we taught roller skating, and these carts got ordered in shoe sizes.
Oh,
And
cool.
and then I had a student say, well, if you're going to teach me how to roller skate, can I bring my bike next? And it's like, no, I think that's your parents' job. But having parents there to volunteer for that, and talking back to your administration and
Mm.
letting them know how positive your program is, and getting people to see that, because they
Mm.
don't know what we do when the gym doors close. They think maybe it was like when they were in school and someone just rolled out the ball and they sat on the sideline. Yeah,
They definitely have that perception of what their experience was, and they think it's the same, like you
yeah,
said. But no, it's not like that. And that's great to get the parents involved in those units, especially with the gymnastics. I do
right,
gymnastics too. I think it's great. They're rolling, they're stretching, they're moving their bodies in different ways that aren't necessarily your typical ways of moving, right?
right.
So it's really cool that you got those extra set of eyes. And like you said, they share the good news of what's happening in the PE classroom with the administrator, with the parents, and it's just word of mouth, and it just snowballs from there. So that's great.
Yeah.
So, Wendy, how can our listeners connect with you? I know you have the website, right? What other ways can somebody reach out?
So, well, on my website, it has my email.
Okay.
So if they the easiest way is just to go to revolutionarype.com.
Okay.
And then it has contact me and it has email. And then in my book, I actually got a call yesterday. My phone number is in there, because if a teacher has a question or needs to talk to me, I know that I had a call yesterday because a, a teacher had bought my first edition but came to my workshop where I talk about getting equipment from the high school and the middle school passed down to us.
Hmm.
And he was starting a golf unit. And if you go to firsttee.org, it is a golf program where they're trying to promote golf in
Mm.
school, and so you can get some free equipment through them. So he just called me. So he left me a message and I called him back. So I
That's
don't mind.
awesome.
I want to be accessible. I want people to find the book helpful or the anything on the web page. It's really about us working together and helping each other. It's not much of a money maker. I think I spent more money getting it published than I did publishing it. But
Well, we want our listeners to go out and get your book. I know I'm going to get one, so I think it's great. So, in that first program you're talking about, I did that years ago in one of my districts. It's wonderful. They come
oh,
out, they have a curriculum, they have a bag. I think they have 10 putters, 10 chippers, and it's a Velcro ball, right? So it sticks to, it's
yeah.
all very kid friendly. So I can definitely vouch for that. It's a great program.
So there's right now in June, you can go to US Lacrosse and fill out their grant proposal, and they'll give you a startup lacrosse set for your classroom that's plastic. So,
Oh,
and then
nice.
all the games are in my book. The book is on Amazon, but you pay $79 for it. But if you don't like it, you can return it, right? It's Amazon. But if you buy it digitally, the ebook from the publisher, Sienna Publishing, make sure you put in save, SAVE, in
Hmm.
capital 20, and they give you 20% off. And then the book is only $66. So,
Yeah, that's reasonable. And yeah, that's my route, I think. I like the digital components.
yeah.
So that's awesome. So thank you so much, Wendy, for sharing your work with us and your expertise. It was great to have you on.
It was great talking to you. I love what you're doing. So I followed you now. So
Oh,
I'm,
thank you so much. I appreciate that. So, listeners, we'll have this episode uploaded soon. We're also asking our listeners to rate and share the podcast if it has helped you in any way. Thank you all for listening. Have a great week, and we will be back soon.